Our next speaker is Ulrika Bergvall from Swedish University of Agriculture Science. And this will be a very good, also very interesting in relation to hunting presentation about trapping and wild animal welfare, behavioral assessment of trapping, wild animal testing, new traps for wildlife and welfare aspects. Please, Ulrika, inform and give us your view on this issue. Please.
Thank you, and sorry for the long title. I just took what you asked me to talk about. I'm Ulrika Bergvall, and I'm a ethologist, and I think it's completely different or some similarities for the previous speaker. But, sorry, what happens? Sorry. So wildlife traps. There are several purposes, of course. It's culling, translocation, research, capture for escape, companion animals. And I think that the purpose, main purpose here for the testing is for culling, actually. And one problem is that, of course, in the description is that with the traps is that we should avoid unnecessary harm. And of course, when we're testing these traps, the premises is, of course, that some traps are not pass, but some traps will pass, of course. So according to the Swedish Environment Protection Agency, we need to test, or they need to test the traps. And here comes my... So the procedure, I just take this very short, is that the applicant sends an application to the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency. SLU, where I'm affiliated to, writes an opinion based on a report, including the autopsy, behavioral study, and reports from the wildlife managers. The Swedish Board of Agriculture writes opinion on the report as well, and then the SIPA take the decision, and in the end, the decision can be appealed by the applicant, and I will come back to that. So we are quite a small, we are just 4 people, and nobody is working full time with this. This is just Petter at the SLU, me writing the reports, analyze films, writing the ethical application. We have Erik Ågning at the National Veterinary Institute, writing the autopsy reports. And we have Micke Gustafsson, that is the wildlife manager, that has all the contacts with all these wildlife managers as different estates that actually perform the studies. And here is also one thing that I can include. These are professional wildlife managers, and these traps will be used by normal people. So far we there's ongoing, and there are huge of different species. This is the setup for the first time for a wild boar trap, and we also actually, I saw Mikko here somewhere, from the Finnish Hunters Association. We actually cooperated with them to try to trap raccoon dogs, because we don't do that in Sweden. So the procedure is that the trap has to be tested mechanistic for function and obvious defects, so the hunters can say, okay, we can't work, this doesn't work, or this will harm the animals, then we can stop there. At least 3 traps need to be tested for maximum 365 days. 20 animals need to be killed and sent for autopsy. That's the rules. According to the ethical application, the first 5 can be in a trap for maximum 3 hours. So if the trap is really bad, there is minimum time for them in the trap. And the test is terminated if the max point for wounds, I won't go into that, so Erik can say stop, now it's finished. Or if more than one kind of species that shouldn't be trapped in the trap is caught per test species. So it's a trap for 2 species, then it's okay to trap 2 other type of species, but not 3. So how do we try to do these behavioral observations? We used kind of security cameras in proximity to the trap. The process is that the car battery, because I mean traps are in the middle of nowhere, it can also send a video to the hunter. So if it's something very bad happening, he can go there and kind of end it. The cons is it's low quality on the films, and it's also need everyday care with the battery, which actually can obstruct hunting in a way if you leave too much kind of human sense and so on. So according to this regulation, we need film from at least 2 hours per animal, sort of, because imagine that the camera doesn't work for one animal. Should we then kill another animal because we missed film from one animal that is not kind of not have any wounds? So it's really it's difficult. So, and when should the films be, I mean, it's not regulated when. So we try to do the best, and I think I will have you kind of lead you through different examples why we do different with different species. So of course it's important at capture, at arrival, we need to have samples from the night, and we use different methods. You can use the continuous sampling on a focal individual. You can have sample sessions because you don't want, I mean, you want to know what happened, but we can't do it too thoroughly because if we do, they complain on that. So you can also take instantaneous sampling to just see, okay, every minute, what type of behavior do they perform or so on. So I used to use this free kind of program that you can put in the video and you can look at it very slowly, you can go back and forth and so on, so it's very convenient. So the first thing we do, or I do, is to kind of look in the literature, look at the behaviors, you perform an ethogram, what can we see, and what type of behaviors can we see and which can't, I mean, you can't see everything on a film. What type of sample do we want, what kind of film quality do we have, and what is the purpose? So what we can get information is about distribution of behaviors that can be observed. We can look at the behavior at the trapping occasion, when the hunter arrives. We can look at the number of individuals outside and inside the traps, if we have predator visitors, escapes, if you have an open trap, animals can escape from it, and when and how animals get their wounds, if there are any. So I will lead you to the rabbit example. We captured 20 rabbits. We managed to get 16 films, but we didn't want to kill extra rabbits because just 4, we have 4, I mean, 4 films short, because these 4 were without any wounds at all. We analyzed 12 hours of film with continuous observations, but we took samples. And of course, we checked all the kind of the trapping kind of occasions and when the hunter arrives. In addition, we have 154 random samples from the films where we actually try to kind of measure how many rabbits it was in the surroundings, but we have just a few angles. And we used the ethogram from an article that, about animal, kind of rabbit personality that I was involved in. So at capture, we have from new kind of change in behavior at all to that it can jump back and forth. And when I say no, it can be a startle response that I cannot see, but they continue to chew, kind of eat from the carrots. So they continue what they were doing. All rabbits ate from the carrots and branches during the whole night. It was conspecifics outside the trap on average 27% of the time, but we could just see a small angle from it. And all rabbits ate in the morning as well, and when the hunter arrives, it takes the freeze position, and he just kills it immediately. So we check different type of behaviors. In this behavior is kind of slow, jump, dig, nose a little bit, and so on. And then it's foraging, so it's quite active all the time. And many times it's actually, they have contact with other individuals. It's quite common that other individuals sit outside and want to have the carrots inside the trap, actually. In one occasion, we have a visit from a red fox. And then, of course, we try to follow what happened there. The tribid tries to escape. It gets one bite and one wound in a tooth. Sorry, thank you. The red fox disappeared after 1.5 minutes, and the rabbits start to eat after 15 minutes. So we conclude that, okay, it was not, rabbits can stop to eat, and they just die from that. But they continue to eat. So the recommendation from us was to actually have it where you have the conspecific around, and we say that we don't know what happened if they don't have these. And of course, it must be enough food for them. And the Swedish Board of Agriculture agreed with our recommendations. What we cannot know is animal anxiety. We cannot know about the stress level, emotion. It should be Pank-Sepp, an Estonian now a neurobiologist, about emotions. We can use behaviors as they do in zoos to actually say, okay, if you forage, if you have social contact, and if you need to do that, you can say that you are in one state, kind of. And we cannot know about situations other than the test, of course. And this picture, this just very short about the next example. You can just imagine what you think if you're a small mouse and this comes to you, and actually the trap is full. So this is the mouse and rat example. This is what happened when the mouse is trapped. It's jumped, the whole trap is jumping, and of course it's affect the animal. So in this, I want your opinion. What's wrong? This is a rat cage, and this is a rat. What's wrong? Yes, it has a tail. And by this, we found that 3 out of 7 rats has wounds on tail, 5 out of 16 mice. 3 mice tail stuck in the trap throughout the night. 5 mice has gastric ulcers, and some died during the night. So what the behavioral observation in this case can help us was when the mouse died, none of the traps was approved. We can use the results from one test to decline another similar, we don't decline. When we can reduce the animals, number of animals used, because if we have a similar mouse trap with the same length, we can say that, well, it won't work. But we need to have the behavioral observations from the first test to kind of, to have a proof, kind of, that it was what was happening. And it resulted in new regulations that max 5 hours for live traps of mouse, which nobody knows about. So we have some problems. We cannot use adjustments along the test to improve animal welfare. Then the applicant needs to stand a new trap, and they will pay a lot of money, and they don't want to do that. We don't have the resources to take blood samples for any physiological measures. We write in every report. We don't have that because it sets in the rules, but we don't have the, they don't do that. The trap owner can appeal against the decision, and the animal doesn't have a spokesman in that process. And we have no resources for improvement of the test procedure or the regulations. So we have some suggestions. I don't know how many minutes I have. 1 minute. Okay. Do not use live trap for mouse. There are other alternatives. They will die when you release them. All mouse and rat traps that are not approved should be removed from the stores. It's illegal to sell them, but you can't use them, but nobody knows. I tried to apply for money from that, but And also, we sometimes discuss that traps should be registered and controlled by county board. And if you ask me another time, I can tell you what's wrong with that trap. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulrika. We have a little time for one question, please.
Hi, I'm Viveka Hillegaard from the Swedish Center for Animal Welfare. I was just wondering if you have an ethical license for doing these experiments. I don't know if you...
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Both from the animal ethics committees and...
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
We have.
Okay.
Thank you. I think it was very, very interesting issues you touch, and of course, trapping is one of the methods which is used. But question from my side, can farmers also use this kind of methods for catching wild animals?
As long as you, everyone can use them if they have a permission, they are hunting.
So it's very important to give appropriate knowledge about what kind of method you can use to catch wild animal.
Yeah,
to choose the best method.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because we can't improve the traps. It's just it's a bunch of traps that are approved and then new are tested, but it's no research for the best type of trap,
Yeah. Okay, last question, please.
Thank you very much. My question is, based on your experience, do you think there is a match between the physical injuries that you give points to build up to a maximum point where it's approved or not, and your behavioral findings? Or does it really make an additional knowledge to add the behavior? I know you're biased.
As it is now, I think, since I wrote it down somewhere, unnecessary harm. I mean, I can't say of the behavior, but if the rabbit has been running around without wounds all the time, perhaps, or just freezing, like doing nothing, perhaps the behavioral observations has give something extra to the. But as it is now, we have not so many examples. But I think that as it is now, it's more the wounds that actually are set the rules in a sense. Because it's difficult, because I can't say anything about the behavior.
Okay, so they don't always match. It could be.
No.
Okay, thank you again, Ulrika.
Ooh.